discuss that. So let me begin by introducing Andrea. I don't think he needs an introduction. We've all been talking to him, and he's been talking to us for a long time. We do know that he has explored the literature on what I would call extended urban spaces, although I don't think he really uses that term in his writing very much, but he is working on much the same sort of issues, and I know that he, together with other people from the University in Paris, have worked very hard on preparing that excellent summary document that was circulated to participants, which has one of the best reviews of literature that I've seen in some time. So I'm immensely, I don't think he needs much more introduction. And so, thank you. Remember the time, if not, I may have to go.
Thank you very much, Professor Mickey.
You might, I don't think you need to mic, but if people feel...
I will try.
You speak quite softly.
Yeah, I will try if you can understand me without a microphone. So my research that I would like to present today is about the spatial relationship between dynamics of polarization and diffusion embedded in the rural-urban transformation. So it's a common trend that urbanization will grow in the next decade. And this sentence from UN report is affirmed that all bigger cities will merge into mega regions. And this trend can be a risky trend that can affect the wealth in the next 50 years. So from News 24, I found these two interesting sentences about the Chinese context. It's about that for the next 20 years, so we still have 5 years at least because the news is from 2001, China will need to find work for 12 million jobless people. And the idea is try to create a bigger city. So it seems quite a simplistic approach. If we use the concept of metropolitan interlocking region, firstly made by Professor Zhu Xixin and presented in the book edited by Terry McKee, Dr. Ginsburg, and Bruce Koppel, in the 1991, we can distinguish about 6 metropolitan interlocking regions. And the model it can be explained by connection between several metropolis along a corridor, which mainly is a railway. In this pattern, we can distinguish the city center, the peripheral area, the desacoda, the rural area, and again, peripheral area and the city center. So if we look now in 2015 from Academy of Microeconomic Research, China has about 11 metropolitan interlocking regions. 2 of them are creating linkages internationally and also overseas, like the case of the number 4, which is the Beibukui economic ring, which extends to Taiwan. So actually the development and the expansion of a mega-urban region is affecting the countryside. To me, what is relevant is to understand the meaning of a region first, and its complexity, and at the same time what do we intend for rural in this kind of context. What is the definition of rural? I will use 2 sentences that I think are very relevant. The first one is from Wei Xiaotang, who made an extensive work on the rural countryside in China. And he says that the Chinese society is fundamentally rural. I say that it's fundamentally rural because its foundation is rural. And another one, in understanding the processes, the new processes, if you want, on mega-urban region, according with the network society, space of flow from manufacturers, can be useful to use this second sentence. Space is the expression of society. Spatial forms and processes are formed by dynamics of the overall social structure. So to try to understand this sentence and how you say grounding theory into the place, I have to go back to the land reform. Because the land reform in China will create a social, spatial, cellular structure, and also reorganizing this society according with the need to provide crops to everyone. And this extended say, huge series of policies, is also related to the construction of the infrastructure on the countryside, especially in the Yangtze River Delta, which are based on the water system infrastructure. To briefly describe the second piece of the reform, we have the rural reform began in the 30s, but will be completed in 1953 with the creation of a community brigades and production team, de facto dividing society in a very small community, scattered across all of the national, let's say, surface of China. And another stage is about the self-reliant industrialization, when the government tried to encourage to establish enterprises in a country. There are many reasons and many factors that can be related to the policies and industrial system. But when we think about industrialization of the countryside, we are thinking about a change in the land use, a change in the social lifestyle, and a change in the conformation of the countryside with non-agricultural activities, different kind of income, development on site, which seems to me something comparable to the context of diffusion in different parts of the world. And at the end, in the 88, after the economic policies, we switch from this system of community brigades and production teams to another one, which is based on the autonomy of the villages. And the fact with the law regulating organization of the village administration committee, villages are supposed to be autonomous in terms of education and profit. So just to give you, to frame the size of a commune was composed by 30 brigades, each one made by 8 production teams, each one with an average of 10-50 households for each team, and 4 family members for each household at least. So it means we have two kind of possible configuration. 2,400 houses for almost 10,000 people, and the second one can be about 12,000 houses for 48,000 people. So about the water infrastructure, I give you briefly some just general introduction. In the 50s, it has been developed as a general development for river basin planning, which goes into in a more detailed plan during the decades between 1956 and 1967 with the National Program for Agricultural Development. Because in fact, the topography of Yangtze River Delta, but as well also part of all water delta region, is mainly a lowland or a plainland. So if you want to farm, you need to make the land cultivable. And to do that, they start with this intensive and extended system of water infrastructure, irrigation, and drainage. But what is interesting, if we consider like investment in the infrastructure, it can be very productive, very good income, because from 1948 to 1987, the investment of water management in China were about 240 billion yuan, with an input-output of about 1 to 3, so like 3 times income. And in Jiangsu province, the investment were about 18 billion, with an input-output of 6.4, so it seems quite an interesting effort. I will skip now other phases of the water infrastructure, and also I try to describe a kind of, maybe it's not possible to read, but a kind of metrics to understand the dimension of the canals. Actually, we have 2 general types of drainage system, which is based on drainage, road, and irrigation, or drainage, irrigation, road. And then we have 2 different systems for plain and lowland, with the drainage canal and the irrigation canal. Let's see now. So this is the configuration of a Yangtze River Delta, and try to, yeah, you can see all of these parts and this part, as well as Shanghai before, is mainly a product land reclamation, channelization, and the settlements are organizing according to what Paul calls the rationality of water. So it seems to me there is a very strong relation between the settlement, morphology, and the water system. And this is in the Bohai economic rim. It's a different situation because there are different constraints, but also we have several land reclamation and the canal, and as well in Paris-Est Delta, especially in this part, and also in Italy, Cadana Plain, which has a very long tradition of canals. It starts from the Roman time, and then in the Renaissance, and also in the Fascism. This is the Po River. Venice should be around here, and this is the water system. Actually, it's much more complex than this map. So this is two pictures that show you the new configuration of the artificialized countryside in Qidong, the appendix of the Jiangsu province during the 60s. So you can see the plots, the irrigation system, and the village aligned along the street. So what another point is this advertisement that I found from 1979 can show you very well how the social structure were really based on a very close ties, social ties, and a very, very narrow connection at that moment. And also the water system is also a system of administrative boundaries. So it's how it looks like. We have different configurations, more or less natural, of course. This is more natural. We have enterprises and water system, farming and settlement, something comparable with the Città diffuse that we will see later. This is another configuration more along like linear villages and the main canals. And this is, to me, is quite a fundamental map. It's the map of the village. So if we see the configuration of villages on a metropolitan scale, we can see that this is a very huge diffuse territory. And also this can be considered for all kind of wall channels. And what is interesting from the map in this case, then we can see the political boundaries of the city with the reannexation. So we can read through the map also some process of reannexation and transformation.
Can you just explain the difference? I mean, I understand the Shanghai part, but how is the gradations? What do they represent from dots to
the dots?
Yeah.
Each dot is a village.
They have dots, and they represent what? They are.
Yeah. So if you look at settlement, of course the maps will be more dense. So this map is about the position of each village. So we are talking about the real countryside administrative system, because we have this kind of dividing kind.
Okay.
It's after the township. And this is in a wide economic rim. You can see also again in Beijing and Tianjin, the villages are disappearing because of the reannexation. And in Paris, with that. And what seems to me another interesting aspect is this relation, just using the position of a village between topography and settlement. And also again, this kind of diffusion that we can read in the Delta region. All of the Delta region are related to the water system infrastructure. So now if we try to understand the path of urbanization in a metropolitan region, I would like to argue that there are two processes. One is the process of urban sprawl along the corridor, and another one is the on-site development, so on-site growth, which is mainly based on the growth of village, which acts as a facilitator, but in fact, the sprawl of the metropolitan forces is overlapping on that one of the diffuse settlements. So this is a condition in the 80s. In the black we have the urban land use, in the red the rural settlement. We can see how both are growing. In the 1995, actually the time of the town village enterprises. And then in 2000, so Kunshan, that Professor Martin showed yesterday, is here. So Kunshan was mainly a county-level city, but a countryside in the 80s, you can see here. And actually is getting more connected with Shanghai. So this is Shanghai. And we can see we have this very clear sprawl of the cities, and at the same time we have this kind of polyadic structure with what you call the hexagonal or diffuse typology of diffusion architecture. So this is what has been built from 80 to 2010. It's just the new part in more than 30 years. So now I will focus on we try to ensure on the rural enterprises as an element that can be used to capture the transformation in the lifestyle and also in productivity of the country. I will not describe in detail the characteristic of the Sunan model, but it has been described as a local state corporativism, which is a series of enterprise, and now mostly shareholding enterprise, before related to the local government. So in Sunan, we have an overlapping between social, political, economic powers. So this is how it looks like, the growth, and actually it's a recent growth from 2011, 2015. You can see that in the first page, the enterprise, they are following the existing structure of the landscape. This is another example, and this is in Qidong, where we have some factory relocated from Shanghai, and this is at least the growth. And now I show you the position of the enterprise. So the average of the settlements, the village, is about half kilometer on the face of the metropolis, and the average of enterprise in Jiangsu, which are about 1 million now, at least, is in all Jiangsu is about 2 kilometer distance each other, and in Sunan area it will even be lower. So in the red is the position of each enterprise before the land reform, then during the period of the land reform before the opening policies. You can see it's quite scattered with a few clusters around the cities. And then from 70 to 99, so the town village enterprises in Sunan, this is Sunan actually, but I used also Nantong because I focused for my second case study on this area. And then from 90 to 2000, the privatization, kind of privatization, and 2000, 2010. And if we divide the size of enterprise on the space, we have many of them, they are between 0 to 15 people that are scattered almost everywhere, and also from 15 to 50. But we also have a lot of enterprise with a high number of employers, but when the number of employees increase, we will have enterprise mostly located nearby the cities and the cities. So now my question is how the concept of there's quite a change in different parts of the metropolis, and how the metropolitan interlocking region is changing, considering the first idea of a connection along the corridor from 1991. So I will use the concept of intertexture, I mean a very short reference to the città diffusa, just to explain what we mean when we talk about different interaction between different kind of infrastructure, environmental infrastructure, infrastructure for mobility, and on-site development. So in Italian, there is a region città diffusa, you can see different kind of farmland, also a very intense system of channels, and also enterprises located scattered in the countryside and local development. This is kind of zoom of the same area to see how the space is organized. And this is how it looks like. So mostly we have both the infrastructure, they are running both together. Then we have the trees for consolidated soil. This is a production for biofuel, if I remember correctly. Then we have a grape production, household family. This is the relative, and the son, for example. So they grow on the same place, they increase and also we have the enterprise. So it's a kind of model that works in symbiosis with the nature. And this is another aspect. This can be used also as public space, because the people in Italy, as Viviane Ferrari pointed out, in the weekend, they're strolling in the countryside. And this countryside is dynamic as well because agriculture. So if we can see in a few years, in a few different months, how the configuration changed. We have trees growing and the trees will be cut. And also different kind of farming, different kind of visual output. So now concluding the presentation, I used to make a kind of field work in two sites. The first one is in Kunshan, so along the corridor of Professor Zhu Yixin and then Professor Martin. I got the site from Professor Martin, so I went there to see what's happening after 15 years, I guess. And the second one is about my ideas. If a metropolitan extended metropolitan interlocal region are based now of flow and telecommunication that can allow as well a new ubiquity of the development, and at the same time they are based on the indigenous system of the network, I suppose that probably I can find some kind of development also in a peripheral area of the metropolitan region. And the railway actually passed by this way, and we don't have highway here. So it kind of, in some way, remote area according with the linkages that you can find in the main Tsunan area. So I adapted for this field work the model of the pagoda development, if you allow me to do that. So my idea is from the field work, if in the 1991 we have the peri-urban, the Desacotta, incipient Desacotta, and again peri-urban and Desacotta and the peri-urban. Now we have almost a complete merge between peri-urban and city center, that's sprawling, and the whole area is a Desacotta with different kind of development and different kind of form. I'm interested in those ones more comparable with the other case. But of course, we have a different possibility for an extensive project of a restoration of this extended metropolitan space. So in Kunshan, I went into two places. Dongshin Village is a nearby lake, it's called the city center. Jianshin Huta, which is a model for agriculture, like the model that Professor Martin showed yesterday. And so this is the city center, Shanghai and Suzhou. We see are going to be more connected. What is important about Kunshan in the 1998 that is per capita GDP, according to Professor Martin, was higher than people living in the city of Suzhou. So it's a very productive, if you want, a very specific and particular kind of rural, which cannot be simplified in the notion, the divide between rural and urban. So what about Dongshin Village? The village is disappearing now, and the process has been compromised because we have a migrant temporary coming there doing some family farming. Remember, it's not what I intend for agriculture, and also a lot of people have disappeared, and the village will be dismantled in the probably months. And this is the development that is arriving in the village. Tianxin Hunzen, I think is an interesting case of fragmented Desacotta, because we can see already in this picture, the system again, the enterprises, the street, they cannot use also for transportation, factories and settlements. But if we're going to check what happened to the balance of the environment, which seems to me the key point for the understanding and the management of the metropolitan region, here we still see agriculture. It seems that the system is quite intact, but in fact, in few parts, the water system is interrupted, and so the canals become kind of pump, which will create several problematics. The change of the composition of the water, the increase of the flow into the water, water will be not used for transportation, problems in irrigation, and at the same time also more, a lot of factories are now will be closed. And this is what the Kunshan municipality expect to do is the zone. So it's a relocation of the brown area, so the enterprise that you can see were more scattered before into big cluster and the yellow one is the residential development. And this is a town that I found out a few months ago in the Yangtze town. So this town is a kind of pure countryside with some enterprise, and the enterprise in the countryside are dispersed but clustered functionally. So those countryside will become specialized in the production of the tree. After 2008, we have the reannexation of different small township into a bigger one, which is this one, I cannot pronounce very well. And they now produce 35% of the tree in China, with a 28 billion yuan of GDP in 2012. This is a document with the reannexation and the new restructuring, and actually the process is quite new, from 2008. So I went to that place, and you can see the development of the housing, in some way comparable with those ones in middle in the different aesthetic, but functionally it's the same principle, increasing the local development. And then you can see the drill advertisement, some factory, and also agriculture and advertisement, so industrial and agriculture. And I have seen many people really doing agriculture. And also the water system is still intact and used. And what is interesting, if we go to this place, when we are nearby the new town, we have a migrant coming, working in the factory. But when we move into the tune, so into the village, very nearby the town, then we have another kind of process. We have a lot of people, and we have a lot of factory, farming for I would say, local area. So I call that a kind of a micro-polarization of the space. So I almost concluded. This again, you can see the housing and the factory and the water system, people living there using for transportation. And again, another lot of factory in the countryside across the water system. They produce, I think, lands. Thanks for your attention.
Thank you very much. Questions?